Hello, fellow chimeras. Sam Brian here. Welcome to another, a theory video where I want to explain. So this theory video is about a complete story about four games that were created by the wonderful creator Samsung, known as Hotel, Camping 1, Camping 2, and Mansion. And why not do it on the place that was created, Roblox? So I'll explain about the story, and well, I want to know what you guys' suggestions about the story, about the games. So yeah, bear with me on this. Also, spoiler warning: if no one plays the games, I'm very sorry. So let's get started. So in the hotel one, you were checking out in a hotel that you want to stay in, and you do. Stay in a hotel because I guess a traveler, I guess. Sweet. Anyway, after going to your room, you meet a local family who says about a strange storm or a power outage. They said the father said they were about to go to their first camping trip, and I will tell you about that later. But suddenly, you were not alone at the hotel. Suddenly, something appears right in front of your very own eyes. A monster appears in the hotel, and your objective, as the player, such as, well, me here, needs to escape from the monster. And you do. The receptionist is dead, and your objective was to follow instructions about what's going to happen in the story. And you basically need to make sure you don't die. Die, you spend Robux to revive yourself, or you need to wait to a new game to play all over again. And trust me, you don't want that. So let's get started. So after escaping the hotel from the monster, you successfully escaped through the helicopter. Though things have been really subtle lately, things are very subtle lately, and things have been, well, to be honest, limited speculation. The stories were made by Samsung are pretty messed up, but also pretty creative at the same time. So yeah, it's kind of awesome. So after escape from the monster, then you started with Camping 1. It was the first camping game that Samsung made, and before he made the Hotel, which is the prequel, and Camping 2, the sequel. You arrived at your camping trip at a place called Specky Woods, the same place that the family was going to. How did I know this, you asked? Well, if you look outside of the hotel doors, you see a sign that says Specky Woods 3 miles away. To get there, you got there by bus. So yeah, shots fired there. Anyway, after getting to Specky Woods, you noticed you were not alone when you were scavenging around the place because something happened. You found a paper article that says a family has been murdered in Specky Woods. And the killer was still on the loose, known as Zach Nolan, the main antagonist of the stories. So let me explain. The family who died is the family you met at the hotel story. They have died from Zach Nolan as Specky Woods. But it says the son have died, but unfortunately, it was wrong. Very much so wrong indeed. Because... okay. Let me mess with the king. So... to make sure you continue on, When you got some stuff to do in the first camping game, you notice that something wasn't up when it was getting darker, and you basically need to set up a camp. Well, you had to tell campfire stories. Suddenly, a monster appears and tries to kill you. You ran to the cave to make sure you'd be safe there, and you did. The monster was gone in the next morning. Literally. The next morning, you decided to check on the tents. One of the tents was covered in blood. Like, well, the inside. I mean, the inside of one of the tents was covered in blood. And apparently the monster wants you to leave, or wants to kill you. However it chooses. Then you notice that something wasn't specifically up. The next night, you decide to stay in the cave with your fellow party. Yeah, the game needs to have lots of players. If you don't, I recommend you guys don't play alone. So I'll tell you why later. So apparently, your objective was to make sure that when you stay in the cave, you notice that you forgot to grab the picnic basket with the food inside. And your objective was to either as a player to go outside, or as yourself to go outside as well. And when you do that, you have to make sure you avoid the acid rain that's coming. The umbrella won't work if you try to, please trust me. It doesn't work. And I'll tell you what's gonna happen. So after getting the picnic, you eat some sandwiches. Nice, delicious sandwiches. Until something was odd about them. And I'll tell you why. The sandwiches were poison. And your objective, it chooses a random person. The person who ate it was poisoned. Who has an upset tummy. And your objective as the player is to have a medkit. If you do have a medkit, you can successfully make sure you can heal the player to make sure they don't die. But the only way to get the medkit is either buy it with Robux, or you can find it in the entire map. And if you do that, you'll notice that the cave entrance was closed by piles of rock. You notice there was a small crack in the wall at the back of the cave. You go through there, and you go through 2 slides that leads the same way. Sorry about that. After escaping from the part of the cave, you had to parkour all the way up to the exit. If you don't do that, you will perish. That's right, perish. And if you do that, it was the next morning. And then you meet some people known as the park rangers. One of them was Park Ranger Daniel. And I'll get to that about Park Ranger Daniel later. So let's continue on. Continue on with the story. You notice that a deer was killed. And you notice that something was strange. There was a black leg on a bear trap. And there was blood gushing off the leg. And the leg belongs to the monster because the monster was completely black. And that face still creeps me out. Though the next night, you decided to stay in the tents because the cave wasn't safe anymore. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The monster captures one of your friends, and your objective was to save them by finding them. When you found them, you decided how to get the higher ground and get the cover from the acid rain. When you get the higher ground from that pillar you see the monster walking towards you when it appeared. And it did. It was walking towards a plank, and because it couldn't stand the sun. Because, to be honest, it reminds me of like a vampire. Though the monster didn't like the sun, it was telling you that it was trying to save you. It said that it doesn't want the events again to occur in the woods. And you guys are asking, Sonic Brian, why would the monster say that? And I'll tell you why. The sun was the monster. Dun, dun, dun. Now, bear with me on this. There's a secret ending in the game where you need to have a lucky coin, and you can either buy it or find it. If you throw the lucky coin in the well, you notice there's a secret ending where you see a boy, the sun, in a shed. The shed you see in the section of the map. Then you see that the sun turned his face, and you see the face of the monster right in front of you. The son survived. He was in the shed for years. They explained he went insane and he lost who he was. He didn't mean to hurt anyone. He just wants to protect you from murderers. He said he doesn't want any of the murders that happened when I had his family, and he said he didn't poison anyone because he's right. The person who did it had rat poison in the backpack. In the end, you figure who did it, and well, don't know if you you die. Then that's how Camping 1 ends. Now, the sequel, Camping 2. You go to another camping trip, but you take by boat this time instead of the bus. After hearing rumors about Specky Woods, you are taken apart by a friendly face known as Park Ranger Daniel, the guy from the first camping meet. He gives you a tour about half the people will sleep in the tents and half will sleep in the cabin with him. After finishing the tour with the bathroom, something was up. The bathroom lights were flickering until you see a pile of bodies, including your own body, covered in blood with knives out of it. Daniel was not faced by it, but the night, you sleep in the cabin with Daniel and the other of your friends decide to sleep in the tents. Daniel had to go to the bathroom, you know, to do his business. Though he makes sure he can, because you know he wants to make sure he doesn't have an accident. Well, we were in this. So you were having an awkward conversation with your friends, and then something happened. The other half of the campers ran for their lives because they saw someone and they wanted you to open the door. When you did, they explained who was out there. And they asked about where's Daniel, and you say that Daniel was in the bathroom, which makes him suspicious in the story. Though, when Daniel came back, you explain about the person outside, and he says that he thinks you're pulling a prank on him or something. The next morning, because Daniel doesn't believe you anyway. Next morning, Daniel takes you to an activity, which you have to parkour on the other side of the place, and you get rewarded, which you do. Your reward is s'mores, everyone. And to do so, after doing the s'more, something happened. The next night, the person didn't appear. This time, something else happened. You decided not to sleep in the cabin anymore and decided to make sure that you're doing well by sleeping in the tents this time. And you do. But unfortunately, there was a storm. The rain, fire went out. Your objective was to make sure that you get a new fire. You do. The fire went out after what happened with that mysterious person. So you decided to gather some firewood, but watch out, there are booby traps everywhere. I'm not kidding, there are actual booby traps everywhere. And after you collect the wood, you start the fire. When you see a fire, you see a gun in a tent, one of the tents. And who could place it there? Then you started. At the end, something happened. the player, one of your friends points the gun at Daniel, and they said that he was acting suspicious when he left. Though your objective, here's a choice: you can either shoot Daniel or spare his life. I'd rather you guys, if you play the game, you'd rather need to spare his life. I'll explain about why you need to spare his life. In the meantime, let's go with the spare life. When you spare Daniel's life, he helps you to figure out what the hell is going on. Then you went to the giant hole that you need to go to because there was an acid rain. Then when you go to the hole, you notice that something was up. Daniel said that he forgot to bring the rope. Though when you go to the entrance of the cave, you see snakes. That's right, snakes. Then you need to find a way to navigate these snakes without dying. If you do, you go to a small obby, and then if you parkour up, you come face to face with the person that the other half of the campers saw. And what's in front of you was what Daniel said about him. His name is Zach Nolan, the person responsible for the death of the family. Or something. And he said, well, I'm not being unbearable, but just hear me out. Though Zach was about to charge at you, but here is what you need to do. Here's the choices. Okay, I'm about to explain right now. So if you don't shoot Daniel, you get a good ending. But if you shoot Daniel, you get a bad ending. So I recommending you guys to play the Camping 2 and spare Daniel's life. So he didn't do anything. I mean, he's innocent. And when Zach Nolan charges at you, the sun appears with a wooden leg, and he saves you by killing Zach Nolan by taking his head off. And now, he left his soul in peace. He was now with his family. Then Camping 2 ends there. Now let's go to the final or third sequel of Part 3, known as Mansion. So, you were living your normal life ever since what happened with the camping trip with Daniel. You were living your normal life, you were watching TV, until suddenly you check your mailbox. And then you see an invitation to a dinner party by someone named Jack Logan. After going there, you see a pile of roses when you were driving your car, but you ignored it and continued driving towards Jack's house. When you made it there, Jack explains strangely. I'll explain why. You see, in the game, things have always that suspicious, but nothing's that more suspicious than him himself. So I'm about to explain right now. So Zach was acting strange because he said there was a few guests short because he said what they did, and that's weird. He left to check on Daniel. You decided to get the heck out and you decided to check on him instead. When you noticed that something wasn't right, you noticed that Jack was wearing the mask that Zach Nolan wore, not to mention the knife he carries. Because here's a twist. Here's a twist. Jack Logan is Zach Nolan. Dun dun dun. Okay. Let me explain so you guys can know. Because there's a secret ending in the hotel game when you're escaping from the creature. You see a dark corridor, and at the corridor, you see Zach Nolan charging on you at the distance, carrying a knife, and it says, "Cannot be interfered." And I'll explain about that. Well, Zach Nolan's a character like he's the main antagonist, so and a cute cat. Anyway, whoa. So that's what you need the meat for. Anyway, back on topic. After going to the other floor of the mansion from escaping Zack, you notice you see a suspicious room with a coffin in it, which seems Zack's unfinished work. I'll explain now. You see a coffin of a black ghost girl with blonde hair with red eyes. I'll explain who it is. The girl is actually the monster you found in the hotel. Duh, duh, duh. Because the red eyes give a similarity. Her name is Emma Logan. She's related to Zack. How? It's her last name, of course. There was a breaking news that the family accidentally ran her over, and she's dead. Because the roses of you see is Emma's dead corpse. Zack wants to kill the family to make sure he can bring Emma back, but he suddenly only spared the son. Well, I guess he didn't found him. He thought he killed him. Though, and Zack, when Emma tells you to get out, she opens the floor and you see what he was working on. Zack kills people to sacrifice them. That's right. You see a ritual room with a pentagram on the floor. Zack was conducting a ritual to bring Emma back by using a dead corpse in the coffin. But after one scene when you have done, Zack has nothing to meddling because of what happened. He was not even meddling about the family, but what happened in the woods. So he wants to get rid of you as soon as possible. Because the son saved your life by killing the fake Zack Nolan. And you want me to explain how? They do wear the mask, but unfortunately the outfits were different. The fake Zack Nolan wears a black and white sweater. The real Zack Nolan wears a black shirt and black pants. And his skin is gray. So yeah, it's the real Zack Nolan. Son may not have found his family's killer, but he did save your life. Though, back on the things in hand, Zack Nolan tries to find you, and then you escape his house. Fortunately, did you really? At the end of the game, you're watching TV, continuing your normal life after escaping Jack's house. But then you see Jack outside your window watching you watching TV. And that's how it ends. So yeah, that's the end of the complete timeline of the camping story. Let me give my explanation. Is that Samsung created a cool story which features a really twisted story about family and about two chaotic killers, two Zack Nolans. The first Zack Nolan you see is that it's a fake, because in the first camping game, the game let me chooses who's the fake Zack Nolan, and I'll explain how. So, apparently the fake Zack Nolan admired the real one's work and decided, why not kill people instead? He took the name and, well, took his job. The real Zack Nolan was renting his house, make sure he can invite you, sacrifice you to bring him back. So yeah. If Samsung is actually watching this, I love your work, and I appreciate if you can make a part 4, or well, part 5. Part 5 of the camping story. Because we got 4 parts. We got hotel, we got camping 1, camping 2, and mansion. And I would really be appreciated if you work on a 5th part of the camping story, and I'll recommend to make a theory video about the story. With that being said, thank you fellow Kaimuners for watching this video. If you did, like this video, comment down below what's your own theories about this stuff, about the complete timeline, about the camping story, about hotel, camping 1, 2, and the mansion. With that being said, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications so you won't miss other videos from me. And I also subscribe to me, and I'll see you fellow Mobians later. Well, fellow Chimerans later. Bye.